I'd like to call to order the October Bryan City Schools Board of Education meeting. If we could stand and begin with the pledge to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rob, if you would call the roll.
Emily Ebaugh.
Here.
Cindra Keeler.
Here.
Tom Lingby.
Here.
Ryan Miller.
Here.
Glenn Newcomer. Here. Thank you.
You should have before you a copy of the September regular and special meeting minutes. If there are any questions, comments, or amendments that need to be made. Otherwise, I'm willing to accept a motion to accept those minutes as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Tom.
Second.
Thank you, Glenn.
Cindra.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Glenn.
Yes.
Emily.
Yes.
Thank you.
Public participation, I'm not aware of anything going from BEA, so move on to communications. Cindra with the 4-county report, please.
Yes, I have a quick little report. It's just that time of year where we shouldn't be hiring new teachers, but we have a couple new teacher hires and continue to work on growing our substitution list. The clubs have gotten organized pretty well, and they're working on their annual fundraisers, which include dances and just some jeans days and different things that they do. Tonight happens to be the advisory dinner. I seem to miss it every year because it's always on this third Monday, but it's the advisory dinner, and the Wall of Fame winners will be announced tonight. So I will report on that next month. I'll probably hit the paper, but I'll make sure I report as to those winners. And I want to thank on camera publicly those volunteers that serve on the different advisory groups. They put in quite a bit of volunteer time in different business individuals, and I just want to say thank you to those advisors. And as I see, looking forward here to our agenda tonight, we'll be reviewing the 5-year forecast. Well, I do know that's on our agenda for 4 County as well. So that's my update for now.
Thank you, Cindra.
Thanks.
Speaking of 5-year forecast and financial reports, on to the treasurer's report. Rob.
Thank you. The month where we have one of our longer sessions. Let's start with the financial reports for the month ended September 30th, 2016. Our cash reconciliation report at Farmers and Merchants Bank, a balance of $16,183,076. Outstanding checks and adjustments, $100,755. Deposits at Star Ohio, $3,243,255. At Morgan Stanley, $18,270,710, and at State Bank, $4,021,282. Our change funds and petty cash funds total $7,500. Our total fund balance, $41,625,067. Our financial summary report with our various fund balances. Our general fund balance was $13,643,479. Bond retirement fund, $1,361,465. Our permanent improvement fund, $2,431,436. Locally funded initiatives for our project fund, $1,803,307. Our local funds for the construction project, $15,460,060. And the state share of our project fund on balance, $6,134,859. Those are some of our major funds balances. So once again, our total balance was $41,625,067. Any questions regarding those items? If not, we'll look at the SM2 report. Our revenue at the present time is about $587,000 ahead of budget. A significant part of that, $448,000, comes from the property tax allocation line. I had budgeted our revenues for the rollback and homestead to come in October, and it actually came in at the end of September, so we got our distributions just a little earlier this year. Thus the major part of our variance there. Our state foundation is about $122,000 ahead of budget. On expenses, we're about $23,000 under budget. So we have over budget. We're about $564,000 ahead of schedule at this point in time.
Rob, do you know roughly that 448 number that came in a month ahead, is that roughly what we had budgeted for October?
Yeah, we had roughly that amount.
Okay.
Yeah, that,
Very similar.
Very similar. Mhm.
Okay.
Any questions on the SM2? Not, we'll go to the amended appropriations. Our appropriation balance at the end of September was $26,811,772. Some of the changes during the month was the Public School Support Fund for Junior High Principal, an increase of $23,876. That's the money we transferred in from the other fund over at the middle school. The Bryan High School Yearbook Fund, Virtual Learning Program, and Athletic Department increases totaled $5,697. Our Permanent Improvement Fund, we increased those appropriations by $157,633. Our LFI fund for the building project was increased by $31,888, and the state and local share of our building project funds were increased by $538,525. Student activity accounts, mask and sandal, was increased by $1,000. So appropriation changes during the month were $758,620. Any questions there? Now we'll move on to the 5-year forecast. First, we'll take a quick peek at the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2016. Our revenues for last year totaled $20,242,000. Our expenses were $19,151,000. Our surplus for the year was $1,091,819, and our cash balance June 30th, 2016 was $12,103,723. Moving into fiscal year 17. Our revenue accounts for our general fund are listed there. General property tax for fiscal year 17, $6.5 million. That's pretty much identical to last year's. Our income tax is budgeted at $2,994,000. Our state aid is budgeted at $7,212,000. You can see that's an increase from the prior year. The state budget from 2 years ago on this biennium provided us an increase each year in state foundation money. Property tax allocation, which includes our personal property tax reimbursement from the state, as well as rollback homestead exemptions. That is $1,885,000. That's about $200,000 less than the previous year, as the personal property tax replacement money is being eliminated, phased out. All other revenue, $1,459,000. So total revenues projected for this year are $20,281,800. Our operating expenses, our personal service, our labor, $12,506,000. That's up from prior year. This is a year where we have 27 pay periods in a fiscal year. Normally we just have 26, so that inflates our labor expenses for this year. Employee retirement insurance benefits, $4,738,000. Purchase services, $2,847,000. Supplies and materials, $500,000. And other objects, $242,000. So our total operating expenses for this year budgeted to be $20,959,859. So we're right now projecting a deficit of $678,000 for this current fiscal year, which, if that would hold true, would bring our cash balance at the end of this fiscal year down to $11,426,000. As we look forward, fiscal year 18, 19, 20, and 21, the expenses are relatively, you can see the labor for fiscal year 18 drops down a little bit, once again, because of the 27 versus 26 pay scenario that I spoke about earlier. Purchase services, supplies and materials, and other objects, those are just 1% increase above the previous year, and we spread it that way as we go out. Our revenues are projected to be $18,900,000. You can see a slight decrease in our general property tax. That's because our emergency levy ceases at the end of 2017. So we'd have one settlement if we did not collect it that would not be in there. The state, as long as it's not voted in, does not allow us to recognize those revenues up in that top line for our general property tax, but they allow us to put it down below in line 11.02 down at the bottom of the spreadsheet. So as you can see, without that 1.9 million emergency levy, our revenues go from 20 million in 2017 down to 17.4 million in fiscal year 21. Once again, two significant items. The $1.9 million from the emergency levy goes away, as well as the personal property replacement money being phased out. So over a period of time, over 5 years, we lose about $1 million in personal property replacement money on the property tax allocation line 1.05. That starts to have some impact upon our numbers. So if we are not able to renew our emergency operating levy, plus the impact of the personal property replacement money going away, could have some significant impact upon our budget and our 5-year forecast. So as we move forward into next year, we'll want to talk more about renewing that levy and have that on the ballot next year, I think, from what we've talked about here earlier. But as you can see, the numbers go down quickly without some of that revenue being in
Rob, I
there.
know there's been discussion over a period of time about the personal property replacement money. Is the state of Ohio talking anything about any kind of support in lieu of the fact that they're taking away $1 million?
There's been no discussion at all, other than it's, Governor Kasich's, I think it is on his plate to have that phased out.
He wants it gone.
He wants it gone. Now, on the other hand, the state has provided us significant increases in our foundation revenue the last 2 years, which has been very helpful. Thank goodness we have had that. We don't know, though, in the next biennial budget whether that will continue to be a trend where they'll be able to help education, whether the money will be there or not. So that's why we are a little bit concerned about the revenue side of our forecast. As you can see, I'm pretty conservative. I flatline most of the revenues going out. We don't have a lot of growth in our property values here in our school district. We did see some increase last year in the triennial update due to the triennial, and most of that was in agricultural property, but there's not a lot of new construction, so our property values aren't really increasing at high percentages or quickly here in our school district. Any questions on the 5-year forecast? If not, I'll get organized and move on to the next item. Next, we ask your authorization to transfer the sum of $136,151.65 from the Permanent Improvement Fund to the Permanent Improvement Construction Project for 6 to 12 to cover the contingency LFI costs that we paid out of our Permanent Improvement Fund. I set those up in a separate account within the Permanent Improvement Fund, but in order to get the money there, we have to transfer it out into the other 003916 fund to make that work. We have some donations this month. The Bryan Club made several donations to our school district. To the class of 2021, they donated $150. To the 6th grade class project, they donated $100. To the BHS band, they donated $300, and to the orchestra program, $200. I'd like to thank Mr. Rich Taverny for a donation of $100 that he made over at the Lincoln auction. Well, he was buying some products and items over there, and the Bryan Civic League donated a sum of $500 to go toward our Chromebook insurance program. There was donation of 1,180 water bottles for students in the 6 to 12 building from the following businesses: Amerimaid Realty, Bryan Dental Group, Bryan Lanes, O'Brien's, Essential Salon, and Image Property Group. I'd like to thank all of those groups for their donations to our school district this last month. We have one then and now certificate. It's for Nichols Bakery, for the bread products we purchased for the cafeteria. Overlooked getting that purchase order put on the system this year. It's $20,000 purchase order. We have a resolution declaring that an urgent necessity exists concerning the purchase of a school bus. Bus number 6, we have engine problems. That's a bus that we rely on in the fleet. It's going to take about $6,800 to repair that bus, but the bus is very old and is the next one that we were going to replace when we made trade-ins in the spring.
What's the body condition of that bus like?
The body
as well?
condition needs some body work,
Okay.
according to Mr. Beck. So it was his recommendation that we not put any more money into it. Mrs. Savage and I reviewed the matter with him, and we decided to move a purchase up from next spring to now, which means we only will purchase one bus in the spring for next school year versus 2. So we just felt that it wasn't worth our while to spend that kind of money to repair something that wasn't going to be around very long anyway. Plus, like you say, the body work was getting in bad shape as well.
I know they do a lot of work patching buses and replacing panels and stuff on that. So those
Yeah.
buses, you get to a point in time where you just can't do it anymore.
Yeah, it just wasn't, he didn't
Okay.
feel it was worth it to put any more money in it. Then finally, in this group, our lease renewal with Fountain City Christian School for the period September 1, 2017 through August 31 of 2018. Our rent is $115,288 for the year. That'll be the 4th lease renewal that we've had with Fountain City on a 1-year basis. Any questions regarding those items?
Could I make one correction?
Yes.
Under the water bottles, the business is Image Pro Group.
Thank you.
I'm sure of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Any other questions? Willing to accept a motion for Rob's report as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Emily.
1 second.
Thank you, Sandra.
Tom?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have a construction project change order for the pre-K to 5 building. It's change order number 103 in the amount of $78,602.74. Those are for HVAC control system. We wanted to have a system that matched the one from the 6 to 12 building. We didn't feel it was going to be very efficient for us to have 2 separate systems that did not talk to each other or work the same. So we approved this change order to change those controls. And we also have a change order, excuse me, I'm going to stop there for a second. Pass that one first.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Emily. Glenn, thank you.
Ryan?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And next item is a change order on the Fieldhouse parking lot expansion. That's a change order for $4,602 with Baker Schindler. When we were working on the parking lot area out there were unsuitable soils that had to be replaced, and took some extra time and effort and money to handle that.
So moved.
Thank you, Emily.
1 second.
Sandra, thank you.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
I'll abstain.
Brian?
Yes.
Finally, on the addendum, we have an agreement from the ODNR, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, with Bryan City School District for our flying angling club. Mr. Lakes is heading up. It's a grant application. Mr. Lakes was pretty excited to see this come in, and we can have that approved. We move forward with applying for that grant for the angling club. And then finally, we have change order number 105 for the pre-K to 5 building. The amount of that is $33,013.15. That will be to replace lockers in the hallway. We originally were going to paint the lockers, and then we asked a question how the paint was going to be applied. They said in order to do it right electrostatically is the process that we wanted to see done, that the price to handle it that way was going to drive it up to the point where we may as well just put new lockers in. So change order for $33,000 to put in lockers. Did I get that right, Mrs.
Yes,
Savage?
that's correct.
This is for the main like hallway lockers that we would
Is that the
utilize?
second
In
floor?
the pre-K to 5 building in the
Yeah.
second floor.
Second floor, okay. Any other questions? If not, I'm willing to accept the motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Tom.
Second.
Thank you, Glenn.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Thank you. I believe that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. That was a long one,
Yeah, that's a lot.
but worth it. Thank you. Old business, construction update. Diana?
Actually, Rob's gonna come back up to bat because I was in Columbus for our last core meeting. So Rob's just gonna highlight some of the items of discussion, and then I'll be back next month.
A good deal of the first half of the meeting was relative to the 6 to 12 punch list items, talking through those with the representatives from Rudolph Libby and Mr. Roofer, and Mr. Lingby was there. Just talking through some of those items, the timing, where they stood with getting things done, and how the contractors were looking at things. And so we talked through that for quite a while with Ramsey from OFCC. And I think we're on schedule. We're getting a lot of things taken care of one by one. The punch list is long, but we are making progress. We had another meeting last Friday with Rudolph Libby regarding the punch list items, and anyway, they keep updating and they're making progress. They worked over there over the weekend on the kitchen area and some other things. So
And Mark and I met today and we reviewed it from where it was a couple weeks ago, and it really is shrinking, and it's getting to the point where we're addressing those things that may be visible to people that need repaired, countertops, just different doorways or things, and those are what the construction company is addressing after hours and on weekends. And until that list is completely cleared and signed off by the construction company and by the owners, then we'll work to continue to address it. There are a few items that are more district responsibility, whether it be, a few more pieces of furniture that need ordered, or some changes that were not on the original scope of work. And Mark and I worked today to prioritize those items, so.
the next item we discussed was the Lincoln project, the abatement and destruction of the Lincoln project. The abatement company is in there working on the asbestos abatement, and demolition will not begin, of course, until they're finished with their duties and job. So that was temporarily held up a little bit because there was some damage to the electrical service when some people went in and took out some of the lights and so forth. We had a little bit of damage to the electrical service, which was still required by the abatement team. So we had some electrical work done to get them patched in and working again. So everything is go with the abatement project, and when they're complete, demolition will commence. That should be, middle of November?
Yes.
We discussed some of the construction quality issues. Mr. Roofer, once again, as Diana alluded to, some of the doors and things of that nature. The pre-K to 5 construction project, we talked through the schedule there. We talked quite a bit about the termination of the job and how it affects our school district schedule and how we want to make sure that we are comfortable with where they stand and they're comfortable before we make a decision on our next school calendar. So we're kind of in the same position that we were last year with, just wait and see a little bit longer before we decide on our school calendar. Mrs. Savage, I think, has been involved with those discussions, and
Certainly people in the community are getting anxious to see that schedule, but so I think it's important for them to know that until that demolition is complete, until, we have a good, solid construction schedule for the pre-K to 5, we can't say we're gonna start on X date. I
No,
think we need
as
to-
Rob said,
We
it'll
need
be.
to have more information from the construction team.
Yeah, I'm sorry. As Rob said, it'll be more like last year. It'll be a discussion item that the board will continue to update the board and work with the staff, but we probably won't be making a final decision until March or April.
so that kind of was the gist of the report for the construction project. Tom, anything you'd like to add? Or?
No, I think you pretty well covered it. Until they got all of the demolition done and see if there's any mold issues and stuff. I know that was one of the things that was sort of holding everybody up in terms of committing to any type of a, firm date. Because it depends on how much remediation work we get into or they get into, and I don't know that it's been definitively
I think-
outlined.
I think that they had the report come back, the mold remediation, they have a contract, and I think they have those people on
On
board,
site?
on site,
Okay.
and ready to go.
And I know we talked about the punch list things and those things that are going on, and those are normal, I understand, in a scope and scale project that we have, to have a punch list at the end. But are any of those items impacting the safety of the children or impacting the ability for us to continue to educate kids within the building at all?
I would say no.
No, and it's funny, I actually told Rudolph Libby when we met Friday, some of these seem quote unquote petty, but they're not. They're the point where our function of our building and our function of our day are not affected by it. They're just little odds and ends or loose ends that need to be tied up. So it's just, it's good that the list is getting smaller and shorter day by day as they work to accomplish it, but no, it's not having any effect on our education.
That's good, but you're right, Mark, our community is paying for it and they expect to have an excellent building in good condition without flaws.
Right.
So thank you for continuing to work on that.
And the district's holding plenty of retainage money, so.
Ha, that would be the carrot or the
There you
stick.
go. All right, anything else on that?
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Rob, thank you, Diana, thank you, Mark. No items under new business, so superintendent recommendations, Diana.
Okay, we're gonna start with commendations. We have at our 6 to 12 campus, students of action listed for grades 6 through 12. Congratulations to those students for being respectful. We have NWOAL golf honors, second team and honorable mention golfers listed. We celebrated our 2017 homecoming with our court and MCs. Congratulations to Queen Delaney Zuver. Our Bryan Elementary 2 to 5 campus PE Gold Slip winner was Skylar Hancock. And our Washington campus winners were Michaela Asbury and Evan Spradlin. So we'd like to commend our students for their excellence this month and continue to look forward to many more exciting items this year.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendations, commendations.
Thank you, Emily.
I'll second it.
Tom, thank you.
Cindra,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Emily.
Yes.
So next under recommendations, we have an MOU with Bryan Education Association regarding the guidance counselor evaluations. This year, because we're still under our current contract with BEA, the counselor evaluations were set to be in a pilot mode for this year. However, after meeting with the BEA and our counselors, we have agreed to jointly to have the evaluations actually count as their full evaluation, so that we're not doing something as a pilot and something else as their evaluation for the school year. So in front of you, you have the memorandum of understanding, which just agrees that the principals will utilize the ODE approved counselor evaluation rubric. The counselors will be evaluated on the duties they perform for the district. That the process, the timelines, and procedures will be the same or very in line with OTES. That credentials of evaluators must have a current ODE. And I do need to make one correction. The acronym here should be OCESC, credentials. So our evaluators had to not only be credentialed and approved to evaluate our teachers, they have to be separately credentialed to evaluate our counselors. And then each counselor will be notified of his or her evaluating administrator on and before October 15th, and that student growth measures will not be the sole basis for the purpose of making retention or removal decisions regarding the bargaining unit members. This MOU is going to be in effect for 1 year only, because as we head into the spring, we are entering negotiations with BEA, and then we'll incorporate that into our negotiations. You also have an agreement with Fountain City Christian School that goes along with the agreement with Julie Taylor for additional duties. So Fountain City School approached us and needed a special ed supervisor on a very minimal basis for the school year to assist with IEP monitoring and progress monitoring for their students. We did not have any additional assistance to offer them during the normal school day, so they are looking for assistance outside of the normal work day, which is where Julie Taylor comes in. So for her contract, this contract explains that she will provide these services outside of her duties associated with Bryan City Schools. And then it's listed in the contract, her hours not to exceed and rate of pay. And then Fountain City Christian School would like to use their federal monies to pay for this service, and therefore that's why we need a contract with them, so that we can utilize the federal grant money that they get that will come through BCS, flow to Julie, and be reimbursed by the federal government. Did I get that right, gentlemen?
Yes.
And all of that has to be approved by Bryan City Schools. So questions on any of those agreements?
I see the two different amounts, what Fountain City Christian will be reimbursing us for through their grant money versus what we will be paying Mrs. Taylor for
Fringe
her
benefits,
service.
we have to pay
So-
STRS.
So it looks like,
Care.
because it's an odd amount, that it's gonna be probably a wash, we're just charging them exactly what
That's right.
Yes.
our expense is back to Mrs. Taylor.
On
Good
the,
question.
on the MOU for the board with the counselors,
Yes.
just item number 5 says they have to be notified of their evaluating administrator on or before October 15th of 2016. I'm assuming that that carries over from the previous administrator that was notified, since we haven't ratified.
They were already
The contract.
notified. We've been working on this for 2 months.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're,
Yep.
okay.
Yep, we're okay with that. Other questions related to those contracts or MOU?
Sorry, let me get back to my right page here. Sorry. All right. If there are no other questions, willing to accept the motion for those recommendations.
So moved.
Thank you, Tom.
Second.
Thank you, Emily.
Tom,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Cindra.
Yes.
Thank you. Under personnel recommendations, I'm gonna go to the addendum first so I don't miss it. We had a need for an additional shuttle driver for our Independence route. 1.25 hours a day for Tim Calvin, PM shuttle only, effective today, 10/17, coming in at 0 years experience. Then going back to the regular agenda, I'd like to recall Jennifer Andrews to preschool one-on-one aide at 4.75 hours per day, 4 days a week, effective October 4th. And Lydia Smith to educational aide 2 to 5 campus, 4.25 hours per day, effective October 3rd. We've had a few students, as we've gotten into a month of school, that are showing some significant needs in the classroom, and these were our 2 aides that had been placed on basically our reduction list at the beginning of the school year. Recommending to hire Amy Lower, pre-K to 5 Washington campus lunchroom for this school year, 3.5 hours a day at 0 years experience. And Myrna Romez, thank you, Portland campus lunchroom, 4.75 hours per day, 0 years experience, effective October 3rd. And this makes our cafeteria staff, as Cindra said, even though we're into the school year, our staffing needs are getting filled. Transfer of classified personnel, Janie Lockoff to arrival one-on-one dismissal aide, 7.25 hours per day, effective October 3rd. Beth Klingeman has earned her master's degree and will move to the master's level on the A1 salary schedule. Supplemental contracts for our upcoming winter extracurricular activities are listed and listed by percentages. Just as a reminder for the board, we, in the contract and agreement that we have with BEA as our supplemental percentages, we do allow our head coaches, if they want to hire additional people outside of that listing, to work with those who they want to have on their staff at reduced percentages. But the contract agreement between the board and the BEA always remains the same. And then we have substitutes, both teacher and classified, and volunteers for our upcoming winter athletics. So questions on any of those personnel recommendations that you have on the agenda or on the addendum?
On the classroom aides in particular, those are, as you said, the students in particular were exhibiting signs of needing additional support, and I'm assuming those were arrived in conjunction with their IEPs, with discussion with the counselors, with the special ed staff, in determining what those needs were.
Yeah, they're in conjunction with their IEPs, the teacher or the administration, yes.
And the parents are involved in that process
Yes.
as well, so that necessitated the hiring of the additional aides.
Yes, and you will probably see a few more coming next month as well.
Okay.
Other questions?
Other questions?
I move to accept the personnel recommendations for the month.
Thank you, Glenn.
I'll second.
Thank you, Cindra.
Ryan,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Emily,
Yes.
Cindra,
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Thank you.
Under points of information, our next board meeting, I do want to come back to that in just a moment. Our Business Advisory Committee, December 8th at 7 a.m. LPDC will meet March 2nd, 2017 at 8 a.m. The board will be at Capitol Conference in Columbus Convention Center from November 13th to the 16th. And I come back to the Board of Education meeting because I need to have some surgery on November 17th as soon as we get back from Capitol Conference. And so I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to attend. The board's options, we can look to have a certain director of operations to step in to that role, or we could move business to December if the board would so choose. But I really cannot.
I'd prefer not to move it to December. I prefer we have a.
I really cannot promise that I will be here on the 21st.
Appoint somebody.
Emily would like to make sure we maintain that meeting. I don't know if any other board members have. I don't know what business will be before the board at
That's
that
the
point
whole
in
point.
time.
We don't know.
Well,
So I just want
and-
to keep it on the schedule.
We can keep it on the schedule and
We can
address
keep it on the
as we need
schedule
to.
and keep the board informed, and if we see that there's no immediate pending issues, I can let Ryan know and we can
Sure.
go from there.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. And now we have reports from our administrative staff, starting with Mr. Roofer. exciting news about fall, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Feels like it's been a while since I've been here, because I think the last time we had our first event in the new gym. That was kind of exciting. Working out a lot of kinks here and there, just like you guys have talked about with your building reports and things like that. Getting things in the right places, remember to put trash cans out, that type of thing. Just all those little things you don't think of and you take for granted for being at that old building for a long time. Just got a quick rundown of some of our sports. We've actually got two that finished their season. The first one we're going to talk about was girls tennis. Had a nice season. I think they've set a record. The senior class has set a record for most wins by a class in 4 years here. So that's a good start. We had 3 girls qualify for districts and ended their season there as Chloe McCash and Trista Savage and AJ Brenneman. So they advanced the districts and then ended their season, I believe it was last week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Golf team, same way. A couple of their highlights, they won an Edgerton invite late in the season, and then they finished second in the league. Had a pretty solid season. Got some younger kids, along with one senior that put things together. If they could put it together all at one time, they'd probably be all right coming up. Girls soccer and boys soccer, they actually host sectional games this week, which is a good sign. You host when you're a better seeded team, which is exciting. I'll get to volleyball here in a little bit, but they're in the same boat. The girls soccer team finished their season at 6-5-4. And they'll play Maumee Saturday afternoon at 1:30. So we appreciate any support we get there. Boys soccer, kind of the same way, had a real nice season, 10-3-3 in their regular season. They'll play the winner of Toledo Central Catholic and Maumee. That'll be played Wednesday at 5 p.m. Out in the park. Cheerleaders, been a lot of football games, been through some tough weather. Also painted signs for senior athletes, been involved in different things throughout the year. Football, currently 3-5. Had a nice win last week. If you got a chance to go out to Delta. We finished up with 2 really tough ones. We're going to play PH this Friday and then Liberty Center the following Friday. Both at home, 7 o'clock starts. But those are going to be tough challenges for us coming up. Volleyball, like I said, the same way. Kind of excited. We're hosting actually 3 tournament games next week. They play actually tomorrow. They play Walpock at 6 o'clock, and that's just the varsity only. So we'll go a little bit quicker than some of those marathon ones with the 3 different levels. So really for those, it's kind of neat to see us being able to host those games. I think it provides a little bit more excitement. I think it's a sign that they're heading in the right direction, those types of things. And the last but not least, we got cross country. They ran their league meet last weekend. Girls finished 3rd, boys were 6th. And they'll run in the district tournament down in Ottawa this Saturday. I think it's a 10 o'clock start, but I'm not positive. So,
Okay.
a lot going on, but kind of wrapping up and we're already pretty much planned out the winter and looking for spring and next year already, so where we're at. Good.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Bassett?
Good evening. It's 4th week of school and we've already tested at grade level. Believe it or not, our kindergarten readiness assessment, or KRA, we are working our way through this. We almost have it wrapped up, and it seems crazy that we just get kindergartners in our building and we test them already, but some of those requirements. Also, November 8th and 9th, we test our 3rd grade. If you remember, 3rd grade takes the air test in the fall and the spring. So those are our testing dates for our 3rd graders for the language arts test. Also, this is another testing update. We've always tested our 4th graders for gifted identification. Every year at 4th, we met and we talked about what the state is looking at. The state is pushing us to identify those kids younger and younger. We get some more points on our report card for gifted if we identify them before 4th grade. So we're actually going to test our 2nd graders with the COGAT, which is kind of what the state is recommending that we test at 2nd grade to identify those kids that may be gifted. Seems young, but the state is telling us that's the age to do it. Also, just kind of digging in, I have a whole lot of information for you, but last December, President Obama signed the Every Student Succeeds Act, the SSA. That's finally trickling down to the state level, and continue to go into meetings and go into a conference next week where the state is trying to decipher what is that going to mean for Ohio. All we know at this point is there are some changes as far as our grant structure. Don't think they're not talking dollars right now, but of course more compliance issues, even down to our homeless that we may have in our community and how to find them and how to get them into our schools. So state's still kind of deciphering it, and and they'll of course pass it down to the local level, so we'll keep you posted there.
Karen?
Good evening. Well, I was just looking at the pictures of all of our therapy dogs that we've had here at Bryan City Schools. Jackie Boyd and Rhonda, our guidance counselors, they made a presentation to the teachers, administrators, and support staff of Paulding County back in March. And that project was titled A New Leash on Life. And I'm happy to say that on October 10th, Wayne Trace Local Schools is now implementing steps to put in place a therapy dog. So they're pretty excited about that. We're pretty excited about that. Sent home tonight, we have our information for our online parent-teacher conferences. Parents can sign up online. Our conferences are Tuesday, November 1st from 3 to 6:40, Thursday, November 3rd from 3 to 8 o'clock, and Tuesday, November 8th from 3 to 8 o'clock. If parents if they do not have internet access, it's not a problem. They can call the school and we can get that set up. Our Bryan Elementary Picture Day is tomorrow. Parents can also order online, and there was a piece of paper that also went home today. 4th grade JA, we have going on October 31st through November 4th. We have our volunteers for that all set and ready to go. And for the last, I think it's 2 or 3 years before I took this position, we have been doing standards-based grading in grades kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. We wanted to, because we are going into one building, Bryan Elementary, we also wanted to have, and it was our plan to add 4th and 5th grade to our standards-based grade card. We had the privilege of seeing Rick Wormley. There were about 15 of us that went, one from each grade level, and he is the guru of standards-based grading. So we have added 4th and 5th grade. We did send some information home, but also we are going to create a handbook for parents regarding Bryan City Schools and standard-based grading, and then a frequently asked questions brochure for parents if they have any questions.
Great. Thank you.
Mark?
Good evening. We are settling into our new building. Now we're in week 5 of school. One of the things that we're going to be doing, because there are a lot of neat things happening that are a little more unique to what we traditionally had in our old facilities, was invite community members in to see what we are doing in the new facility. So stay tuned for some dates coming out in the near future with some opportunities for community members to come in, check out the new learning styles and processes that are occurring, and just see it in action, see the building in action, because we've all seen blueprints and we've seen pictures, but to see our students actually live the capabilities of this new facility, we want to really showcase that and show that off, so stay tuned to those dates. Our teachers are actually, believe it or not, starting to work towards scheduling for next year already. We're going to be hosting some scheduling meetings in the coming weeks and months. As we added 22 new courses this previous year, we want to make sure we refine the current course offerings that we have for our students, but also if there's any additional offerings that we need to keep us up to speed and ahead of the curve for 17-18, we're going to start having those discussions. Concert season is upon us. We have our choir concert this past Sunday. Our orchestra concert is coming up this coming Sunday, and then our band concert the following Sunday. We do have a middle school combined band, choir, and orchestra concert coming up on Monday the 24th. So it is concert season, so if you can get out to the A&E and check them out, they're out there. We're also running our middle school fundraiser right now. We're preparing our 8th graders to help fund our 8th grade Chicago trip. So if you see a student that approaches you, that's what the cause is for. And our 7th graders are also building for next year's trip. And our 6th graders are also helping with the school activities that we do throughout the school year. We're participating in an activity through our Safe Schools and Healthy Students grant, and in cooperation with them, known as Say Something Week. So you'll see some promotional materials for that the week of the 24th. It allows our students to learn that they do have a voice and can have a voice to help stop anything from bullying and harassment to violence. So we're going to be promoting the use of your voice in Say Something Week. Some calendar items for you here. We have NHS induction ceremony coming up next Thursday, the 27th, our Bloodmobile Friday, the 28th, and right around the corner are our parent-teacher conferences on November 3rd and November 10th, as our quarter ends November 10th, so it's hard to believe we're already there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. At this point, no further items on the agenda to go over. There is a need for the board to enter into executive session for multiple reasons. On your list would be items A, B, and E. The appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of an employee, or the investigation of charges or complaints against an employee, official, licensee, or student. That's a mouthful. The purchase of property or for public purposes, or the sale of property, and matters requiring to be kept confidential by federal law or rules or state statutes as well.
So moved.
Thank you, Emily.
Second.
Thank you, Tom.
Glenn?
Yes.
Emily?
Yes.
Cindra?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Bryan?
Yes.
Thank you.